something happening here.
Welcome to TNZ Talk with radio veteran Tony Trupiano and Huffington Post blogger and writer at Liberals Unite, Richard Zombeck, where they do lean left, but always talk straight.
I never knew it would be this vile, that it would be this bad, that it would be this vicious. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you.
It would be dishonest and disingenuous to me to just move on to the next thing like this was all just a bad dream. This is not something that we can ignore.
And welcome, everybody. I'm sitting here going, Donald Trump is taking all these slings and arrows just for us. Welcome to TNZ Talk. Tony Trupiano and Richard Zombeck with you on this Friday, October 14th, 2016. 23 days left until the election. Maybe 24 days. Maybe it's 25. I don't know. But Zombeck, Richard, or Zombeck, comma, Richard. I forgot the comma. Zombeck, comma.
You're a little discombobulated, aren't you?
You know what? I was going to ask you, like when you were a kid in school and they asked you to line up alphabetically. Yeah, okay.
Well, at least I didn't have to figure out which letters I was squeezing between.
That's true, but with the last name Trupiano, I was usually close, if not the last person in line as well.
Yeah, well, my wife's maiden name was Warden, so I figured she married me just to get further to the end.
I'm going to leave that comment alone. So, you know, love that opening. Donald Trump is taking the slings and arrows for us. How could we ever express our gratitude for that piece of cow dung doing that?
I have something else that I want to play that I don't think that... No, actually, you don't know what this is. But since the Trump campaign has been accused of plagiarism...
Many times.
Many times. Let me just play this very short little clip. It's about 14 seconds.
To be or not to be, that is the question. It is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them.
That of course was from Hamlet.
Yeah, but you see, I read your Twitter feed, so that is not new for me.
Who is also going to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune for us. And I love Donald Trump on a teleprompter is just pure gold. He is so bad at it. Did you catch that little part where he goes, alas?
Yeah.
Like, who wrote alas for Donald Trump? Well, my guess is it was that Breitbart moron that wrote the entire speech, because the whole speech that he gave where he said that sounds like this massive Breitbart InfoWars conspiracy theory nut job rant.
Yeah, we really haven't gone after Alex Jones yet. Perhaps we'll have time to do that today. But you know, I'm waiting for Donald Trump to say, and this time we will not allow the establishment to overrule what we know the majority wants. Hold for applause.
Duck.
You know it's coming. You know it's coming.
I know. I mean, he's so bad. And, you know, that speech, which was a teleprompter, conspiracy theory, nut job, lunatic rant, juxtaposed with the speeches from Barack and Michelle Obama, basically on the same days, was just, I mean, the difference was stark. It was just, I mean, you watch him and the way he just kind of robotically moves from teleprompter to teleprompter, and then his tiny little hands that are making gestures that have nothing to do with what he's saying. He's a cartoon.
All right. Now, with that said, so here's my question for you. is it the lighting or is it Photoshop? But it seems that on every cable channel, when they show Donald Trump, his hair is really yellow and his skin is really orange. Now, I know that he puts on the man tan. I get that. But is his hair really that yellow and is his skin really that orange? Or is it the lighting, you think? I
don't know. There's something weird going on with that weasel on top of his head. But I have noticed that too. There are certain times when it looks like this really kind of jaundice, yellow, goldish, gross, sticky color.
Yeah, and then we'll just leave it at that. We'll leave that visual to everybody else. Really a remarkable 24 hours since you and I last did the show. You talked about the stark contrast between Michelle Obama and Donald Trump, and then Barack Obama last night in Ohio, in Columbus, gave an amazing testimonial to Ted Strickland. Certainly pumped up his wife Michelle and the amazing job she did yesterday, and of course talking up Hillary Clinton and talking down Donald Trump. Now, before we go any further, and we don't have any audio on this, do we? No, Ben Carson and Joe Scarborough got into it.
Oh,
beautiful. A major smackdown today. So, if you would, because, Professor, you're really good at this, break it down for us for those that didn't see it on Morning Joe.
Oh, why do I have to?
Because you're really good at it. Which is why I said that.
Well, I caught most of it, but I stopped paying attention. I mean, when he okay, so this is the beautiful part. So Ben Carson has 3 points to make, which Joe would interrupt him. Excuse me. Joe would interrupt him after the first point. Let me finish. Or actually, it's more like, I just want to finish my point. And so Joe wants him to respond to the points that he's making as he's making them, and then Caddy Kay, who is a commentator on Morning Joe, she's a Brit. BBC America. Thank you very much. And in the process of Caddy Kay asking Ben Carson about Donald Trump's misogynistic, sexually assaulty tendencies, Ben Carson tells her to shut her mic off.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. We got to get some audio for the next episode. I mean, we absolutely have
to.
Let's
just say Caddy K wasn't very happy.
Yeah. Well, who would be?
No one.
And, and Ben, I mean, the pundits that are still defending Donald Trump for his what can only be called sexual assaults, the people that are still defending him, they're not saying, well, I mean, aside from his kids maybe and other morons that are saying this is how men act, they're just deflecting. They're going, why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about this? And then they, this is something that happened 10 or 20 years ago. I mean, this is ridiculous that we're even talking about this. Oh, by the way, let's talk about Bill Clinton, who was allegedly molesting women, 3 decades ago. That's completely relevant.
I don't know if you have been noticing this, and I just caught it twice very briefly yesterday, but there has been, and Snopes smelled it out, it's true, a rape allegation made against Donald Trump against I think it was a 13 or 14-year-old girl.
13-year-old, yeah.
All right, and it's now starting to make the major media news cycle very, very slowly, a very slow drip. But it is now out there, where it was just a kind of an internet thing. It's no longer just an internet thing. Now, it's not been part of a big news cycle. It's not become a major story, but it's out there and it's real.
Well, yeah, and Donald
lawsuit's
Trump,
real. Let me be very clear on that. The lawsuit's real.
Okay.
The accusation is real, but it's not been proven.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Well, we have to cover our asses.
Oh, well, yes. And mine is significantly covered.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
or mom, as the case may be. But go ahead.
It's radio. I could be doing this completely bare ass. So now I forgot my point.
Notice I didn't comment. So
I'm glad you didn't.
The 13-year-old girl rape allegation.
Yeah, and so Donald Trump, and I think we should play this. We actually have some pretty long audio, and here's what I want to do, Tony, because the Trump speech is long, and the portions of Michelle Obama are long, and I think that they're worthy of playing. But let's do this with the Trump speech. I'll just play it, and when you think you've had enough, just break in and tell me to stop it.
Okay, probably not going to happen, but go ahead.
If you think it's gone on long enough. But what I see here is there's going to be more coming out, and everybody knows there's going to be more coming out. And Donald Trump, over the course of the last couple months, when his poll numbers have been going down significantly, double-digit significantly, they are turning to this kind of scorched earth strategy where they're going to take everyone down with them, and not only that, but they're going to blame everyone else for their not getting elected. And Breitbart, what's the guy's name? Is it
Steve Bannon?
Is it Bannon? Steve Bannon, right?
Yes.
And what Steve Bannon and Alex Jones have been doing for the past 5, 10 some odd years is ginning people up about this conspiracy that the government's out to get you, that there's a global conspiracy, that, I mean, even to the point where it's the Jews and the Rothschild and the most insane conspiracy theories that people are actually buying into in this country. And interesting sidebar. I got contacted on Facebook by this guy with the same last name as me, who wanted to know if somehow we were related, and he was from I'm not going to even say where he was from, but another Zombek, and there aren't a lot of us. In fact, obviously, we found that there are more of us. We thought we were more special before the internet. And then once the internet came about, we realized that Zombek wasn't that uncommon, not as uncommon as we had originally thought.
And your point, thank you.
Yeah, sorry. So this guy contacts me and he wants to know if we're related, which we're not. And, can he friend me on Facebook? And then, I say, sure, but, I've got some very pointed political views and blah, blah, blah. He goes, oh, yeah, don't worry about that. And I watch and listen to InfoWars because I like getting the truth.
Oh, boy.
Needless to say, I didn't accept his friend request.
Needless to say.
Yeah. But so, there are people out there that actually think that this is real media, that these are people who tell the truth, that Steve Bannon is, just trying to help us by ferreting out the truth when, in fact, he's fabricating most of what he writes. All right,
let's listen to what the Donald had to say.
Yeah, and this is beautiful. If you get a chance, go actually watch this speech. You can hear it enough how robotic it is, and just what he some of the things he says in here. But you have to watch it to get the full effect of his tiny little hands waving around.
Our president is incompetent. All he wants to do is campaign. And the last thing he wants to happen is to have Donald Trump terminate Obamacare and do all of the other things that are destroying our country. He's led a very divided nation, and it's only gotten worse. And the last thing our country needs is 4 more years of Barack Obama, believe me. I've seen firsthand the corruption and the sickness that has taken over our politics. You've seen it, and I've seen it, and we're all watching together. They knew They would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. But I never knew, as bad as it would be, I never knew it would be this vile, that it would be this bad, that it would be this vicious. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. Our great civilization here in America and across the civilized world has come upon a moment of reckoning. We've seen it in the United Kingdom, where they voted to liberate themselves from global government and global trade deals and global immigration deals that have destroyed their sovereignty and have destroyed many of those nations. But the central base of world political power is right here in America, and it is our corrupt political establishment that is the greatest power behind the efforts at radical globalization and the disenfranchisement of working people. Their financial resources are virtually unlimited. Their political resources are unlimited. Their media resources are unmatched. And most importantly, the depths of their immorality is absolutely unlimited. They will allow radical Islamic terrorists to enter our country by the thousands. They will allow the great Trojan horse. And I don't want people looking back in 100 years and 200 years and have that told about us, because we were led by inept, incompetent, and corrupt people like Barack Obama and like Hillary Clinton. We don't want to be part of that history.
Yeah, we kind of do.
How do you like that?
Well, you know, it's a fire and brimstone speech. Donald Trump couldn't put those words together in that way if somebody put a gun to his head and forced him to.
Well, and you know, and I talk about pronunciation and words all the time, right? Because that's my thing, right? And that when you can always tell when someone is reading off a script, and I think, because nobody uses this really in natural sentences, is when instead of saying like a car or a banana, they say a car and a banana, or they say the car and the banana instead of the car and the banana, right? And what I found really funny about this, and why I played that clip about the slings and arrows in the opener, was because Donald Trump is reading off of a teleprompter and he says "alas" instead of "alas."
Alas, right.
Right? He says "alas, alas."
Well, you know, maybe he's thinking of a woman. Maybe he's just thinking of a woman. Alas.
No, but it's
kind of like Aleppo.
What? I have a couple Leppos lying around.
Actually, I had Aleppo for dinner last night. All right, you know, and certainly we could juxtapose Donald Trump against any other political figure, even Gomer Pyle, what's his name, Gomert, the dude from Texas, is a better orator.
Louis Gomert.
Yeah, is a better orator than Donald Trump. I sometimes throw up a little bit in my mouth when I hear media pundits say, well, Donald Trump has gotten a lot better at the teleprompter. Define a lot. You see, and that's just it. You know, we often hear in the media the bar is set differently for Donald Trump. There is no question in my mind that is true. No question at all. He has to meet a very different standard than Hillary Clinton. They would never, of course, put him up against Barack or Michelle Obama. We're going to get to Michelle Obama here in just a moment. But, you know, one of the things that I wanted to make sure we discussed today before we continue with our audio is the team that Donald Trump has surrounded himself with are people that really have spent their careers as anti-Clinton operatives. Steve Bannon and Kellyanne Conway have both spent 2 decades going after the Clintons. But the problem is, not as strategists, but as conspiracy theorists. And this is who Donald Trump decided to run his campaign. His CEO and his campaign manager.
Right, and let's go back to my conspiracy theory that if Donald Trump wanted to start Trump TV, he's on his way to do this.
Yes, well, I'm not arguing with that at all, and I'm sure that it would be run by Bannon and Kellyanne.
Yeah,
because they're not going to be able to find jobs. Well,
and,
Bannon doesn't need
Roger,
to worry about
and
it.
Roger Ailes.
Yeah, there is that. Although I don't think Roger Ailes' legal problems are quite over yet.
Doesn't matter.
Well, it may. It may. Depending, there are lawsuits that are being prepared that we're not privy to. There may be criminal charges pending. There may be rape charges pending. So don't get too far ahead of this story. See, I'm serious. Don't get too far ahead of this story because I think it's a long way from being. But we don't need to have a talk about Roger Ailes right now. There'll be plenty of time to do that after November 28th. You didn't get that reference.
No.
November 28th.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Anyway, do we want to remind people what we're talking about? Or sure, yeah. Donald Trump said the election was November 28th. By the way, Mitt Romney made the same mistake. And, of course, on the left, people went crazy going, oh, they're just trying to get people to vote on the wrong day. No, they're just stupid.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with trying to get people to vote on the wrong day. Before we get to some of the Michelle Obama audio, maybe it would be fun to get to some Michelle Bachmann audio.
Oh, yeah. All right. So this was Michelle Bachmann on right-wing radio, basically explaining what voting for Hillary Clinton will mean. And, in typical Michelle Bachmann, Louis Gohmert, lunatic, right-wing, evangelical, fringe nut job.
Right, and for those that don't remember who she is, she was a congresswoman from Minnesota, ran for the presidency, is as a bigger lunatic than Sarah Palin, and is just absolutely freaking unhinged. And if she would, never mind, I can't say that on the air. We'll leave it alone. But all right, so you set it up. This is what she had to say. If Hillary Clinton were elected, this is what she said.
Yeah, which pretty much signifies the end of days. So here's that audio.
And the best thing that Christian men can do is make sure that Hillary Clinton does not become president. And the best thing that Christian women can do is make sure that Hillary Clinton does not become president, because we have to realize Christians are the largest voting bloc in the United States. Christians, evangelicals in particular, will be the ones who determine if Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump is the next president of the United States. Hillary Clinton will continue the anti-biblical agenda that she has always stood for, whereas Donald Trump has already released a list of only pro-life judges that he will support. He will be the best chance that we have of defeating Roe versus Wade, and I believe that Hillary Clinton will set a standard in this country that will lead to even more sexual assaults against women, because she will be setting an anti-biblical agenda.
Oh. First of all, evangelicals make up maybe 2% of the electorate, but they'll be deciding it, Z. And actually, I was waiting for her to say, you know, Christian men need to not vote for Hillary Clinton, and Christian women need to tell their Christian men not to vote for Hillary Clinton, but that's not what she said.
Well, but so, I mean, I don't even know how. So she's supporting Trump, who is. I guess I'm trying to figure out the logic here. I know that's probably impossible, and it's a complete waste of effort. But Donald Trump is a known, admitted misogynist and alleged sexual abuser. And
there's nothing alleged about it. He admitted to doing it. You don't have to use the word alleged.
Okay.
He admitted to sexual assault against a married woman.
Well, that was locker room talk, Tony.
I'm sorry, Z. He admitted it.
So, how does the logic work then? Donald Trump is a sexual abuser. I'm not trying to make sense of this for me. I'm trying to make sense of it from the standpoint of Michelle Bachmann.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to make yourself sick.
And what she's trying to tell people is basically Donald Trump is a sexual abuser, and he makes the best president because Hillary Clinton is the defender of sexual abusers. Is that how that works?
Something along those lines, but it's deeper than that, because you have to remember that according to Alex Jones at InfoWars, both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama are the devil incarnate. In fact, they smell like sulfur.
Yeah, I know. That was beautiful.
And I would imagine that there is somebody out there right now creating a fragrance called sulfur.
Well, but do you think, because Barack Obama during his speech it was in North Carolina, right?
Yes.
Sniffed himself to see if he smelled from sulfur. But if you're a demon and you smell of sulfur, do you actually smell the sulfur?
Well, it's kind of like when you fart and it smells really bad. You don't think it smells bad, but everybody else does.
Right. That's like George Carlin. I love that line. He goes, "You ever notice your own farts smell okay?"
Yeah.
By God, that was fairly decent.
There you go. Absolutely. So that's why this isn't making sense, and that's why it's careening out of control. It's because there is no logic in this at all. None. Zero. Christian Times has come out against Donald Trump. They have seen a spate of people unsubscribing because of it. This idea that Hillary Clinton is going to appoint the most liberal judges ever to walk God's earth to the Supreme Court has them freaked out.
Ever. They're going to be pulling babies out of uteruses on the street.
Evangelicals have one issue, and it's abortion. That's it. That's their only issue. They only vote on that issue. You and I both know that you can't talk sense into single-issue voters. You just can't, and I don't try to. And they have a right to that opinion under the First Amendment, and I will protect that right. I have no problem with that at all. Let them feel that way if that's the way they feel. I've never been a single-issue voter. I will never be a single-issue voter, and so I don't understand single-issue voters. But they're there. It is what it is. But this idea that Michelle Bachmann, the Looney Tunes that she is, thinks that evangelicals will decide this election is truly laughable. It's laughable, Z. It's not ridiculous. It's not outrageous. It's laughable. So there.
Well, but she thinks that Christian evangelicals are a majority in this country.
Well, in her country, but her country is like 3 square miles big.
Well, and the thing is this would be something if she was I don't know,
normal.
No, I mean not a politician, or not having been a politician at some point. I mean, you have I don't know.
Hey, come on! God called her to run for the presidency. He just happened to call her back.
The crazy has just gotten
crazier,
just a little weird.
All right.
And here's the other thing too: is Mike Pence was on TV this morning saying that Donald Trump later this afternoon is going to present evidence that all of these women coming out and accusing him of sexual assault is false. What kind of I'm listening to that. I'm going, what kind of evidence could you possibly present?
Are you ready for the evidence? Because I know what it is.
Oh yeah.
According to the Wall Street Journal, he is going to announce that there's some Mexican multi-gazillionaire that is a shareholder in the New York Times that has been covertly paying these women to come forward to make him look bad. And apparently he has an email that proves it. I'm just telling you what it is. That's what's been reported. So a Mexican financier worth billions of dollars, a shareholder of the New York Times, blah, 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 blah. And it's about globalization and Jews and whatever.
Oh, great. Hey, listen, we're at the half hour here, and before we move on, and since you mentioned financing...
Okay, well, interesting transition, but go for it.
So listen up, everybody that's listening. This is listener-supported radio podcasting. Tony and I are doing this right now to inform you better and hoping that you enjoy it. And we do need your support. And the way you can support us is by going to tandztalk.com. Click on support, and you will find our Patreon page. You can, of course, go to Patreon, patreon.com/TNZTalk. You can find us there, but probably the easiest way to do that is go to tnztalk.com, click on support, and find the myriad of ways that you can support us. Of course, sharing us helps a lot too, going to iTunes and rating and reviewing us. Like I said, tnztalk.com and click on support. Now, back to the show.
It's kind of like Donald Trump's minority outreach. He's got an African American, and we have a monthly subscriber. So we do share that.
No, we have a couple.
Oh, okay. Let's get to the Michelle.
And you can also subscribe to our newsletter there too.
Yes.
There's tons of stuff, tons of great information at tnztalk.com.
We were told if we built it, they would come. It's time to get there. With that said, we've got to get to some Michelle Obama stuff. And I don't even want to set this up a whole lot, but to say that the reviews are in. And for those that haven't had a chance to hear what Michelle Obama had to say yesterday with regard not just to Donald Trump, but to the issue of sexual assault in general. And I want to make sure that we're clear on that. Although it was directed as a result of what Donald Trump admitted to doing last Friday in a videotape that was released by Access Hollywood, her comments are amazing. In fact, many reviewers are saying, and I'm talking about serious political journalists, that it may be the best speech ever delivered by a first lady in this country.
And and I'd have to agree. So, again, this is a little long, but settle in.
Yeah, you don't have to explain that it's long. Let people just take it in.
All right, then.
Let's do it.
The fact is that in this election, we have a candidate for president of the United States who, over the course of his lifetime, in the course of this campaign, has said things about women that are so shocking, so demeaning, that I simply will not repeat anything here today. And last week, we saw this candidate actually bragging about sexually assaulting women. And I can't believe that I'm saying that a candidate for president of the United States has bragged about sexually assaulting women. And I have to tell you that I can't stop thinking about this, it has shaken me to my core in a way that I couldn't have predicted. So while I'd love nothing more than to pretend like this isn't happening and to come out here and do my normal campaign speech, it would be dishonest and disingenuous to me to just move on to the next thing like this was all just a bad dream. This is not something that we can ignore. It's not something we can just sweep under the rug as just another disturbing footnote in a sad election season. Because this was not just a lewd conversation. This wasn't just locker room banter. This was a powerful individual speaking freely and openly about sexually predatory behavior and actually bragging about kissing and groping women, using language so obscene that many of us were worried about our children hearing it when we turn on the TV. And to make matters worse, it now seems very clear that this isn't an isolated incident. It's one of countless examples of how he has treated women his whole life. And I have to tell you that I listen to all of this, and I feel it so personally. And I'm sure that many of you do too, particularly the women. The shameful comments about our bodies, the disrespect of our ambitions and intellect, the belief that you can do anything you want to a woman. It is cruel. It's frightening. And the truth is, it hurts. It hurts. It's like that sick, sinking feeling you get when you're walking down the street, minding your own business, and some guy yells out vulgar words about your body. Or when you see that guy at work that stands just a little too close, stares a little too long, and makes you feel uncomfortable in your own skin. It's that feeling of terror and violation that too many women have felt when someone has grabbed them or forced himself on them and they've said no, but he didn't listen. Something that we know happens on college campuses and countless other places every single day. It reminds us of stories we've heard from our mothers and grandmothers about how back in their day, the boss could say and do whatever he pleased to the women in the office, and even though they worked so hard, jumped over every hurdle to prove themselves, it was never enough. We thought all of that was ancient history, didn't we? And so many have worked for so many years to end this kind of violence and abuse and disrespect, but here we are in 2016, and we're hearing these exact same things every day on the campaign trail. We are drowning in it.
Anything?
I just...
Yeah. Well, you know, and where I think she hits is she's raised the awareness in this campaign. She's elevated it to a higher standard than it was, and it's been allowed to drop so low. And you know what she in the next clip too, and the reason I separated this is pretty much what she says next, and it goes back to what we were talking about in the previous episode, right? That article from Huffington Post about, you know, what women do that we don't know they do, and what they do. And I was mildly aware of this, but you know, with this article and with it's almost like when you hear people talk about black people talk about walking down the street, about getting pulled over, about being in the workplace, about being turned down because of their name, about being dismissed because of the color of their skin, is that women in this country, and this has been prevalent for a very long time, and it's coming to the forefront in thanks to Donald Trump and his followers. I mean, we have people in this country that are literally saying that we should repeal the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote, that we should repeal that because if women didn't vote, Donald Trump would be president. And there are women who support Donald Trump who agree with this. And that as a guy listening to this and reading that article is understanding how some of the stuff that I may have done, nothing really egregious or disgusting, but, a glance. Wow, I'd like to get to know her, whatever. That, all of that, was that done in a way that was kind and gentle, or was that done in a way of conquest, right? And that the smallest little thing that we have guys and men and boys that are being raised this way that think that it's okay to objectify women, to treat them as possessions, to treat them as a conquest, and how uncomfortable that makes the receiving party feel. Right now, I know women that have been in abusive relationships, that have been stalked, that have been the subject of unwanted advances, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to listen to. It's uncomfortable to watch. I mean, Donald Trump Jr., who proved today that the apple does not fall far from the tree, said that women who can't handle harassment don't belong in the workforce. Not that men shouldn't be harassing women. In his mind, and apparently in his father's mind, and apparently in Trump supporters' mind, it's just the way of the world. Men are going to harass women, and that's just the way it is, and there's nothing we can do about it because our penises dictate that that's how we act. That we cannot... You can't expect us to not harass you, so if you can't handle it, you should just stay home.
How do you really feel? Well, let's get to that other piece of audio.
And all of us are doing what women have always done. We're trying to keep our heads above water. Just trying to get through it. Trying to pretend like this doesn't really bother us. Maybe because we think that admitting how much it hurts makes us as women look weak. Maybe we're afraid to be that vulnerable. Maybe we've grown accustomed to swallowing these emotions and staying quiet because we've seen that people often won't take our word over his. Or maybe we don't want to believe that there are still people out there who think so little of us as women. Too many are treating this as just another day's headline, as if our outrage is overblown or unwarranted, as if this is normal, just politics as usual. But New Hampshire, be clear, this is not normal.
So, you said, tell me how you really feel. What this speech did for me, Tony, is you and I as guys, and I want the guys that are listening to think about this. You and I as guys have been in a position where we've been subjected to insults, being treated poorly, and going along with it because we need the job, right? We need the money. Being treated like crap by a boss, right? And you know how that feels, right? You know how it feels to be told just do it, or you're an idiot, or whatever, and that feeling you get deep in the pit of your stomach, or the goosebumps on the back of your neck, or the stress that geez, I wish I could just leave, but I can't afford it. It's hard to find a job right now. The money's good, blah, blah, blah. Now sexualize that. Now make it about sex. Now make it about someone objectifying you as an object of their sexual desire that they think that they have every right to, simply because they're above you in social stature, in economic value, whatever. However they deem themselves better than you, that's what women have felt like in this country. That's what the Donald Trumps of the world make women feel like.
Let me ask you this question. What are the two words she did not use in that entire speech?
Donald and Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
She didn't have to.
But it's not just about Donald Trump.
That's my point, is she didn't have to.
Exactly. And Donald Trump has look, I said this when Donald Trump first started. I was overjoyed that Donald Trump was running. I was overjoyed that Donald Trump was the front runner for the GOP. And I think what I said was, in the first 3 months of all of this, I said, yeehaw, he's going to bring all the cockroaches out into the light. All the cockroaches are going to come out from under the rock, out from under the couch, out from under the basement, and we're going to see them in the light. And 3 months later, I said, holy crap, there are a lot of effing cockroaches.
Yeah, and they didn't scurry back into their holes when the light hit them, did they?
No.
No, in fact, they stayed out, including a couple surrogate cockroaches for the Donald Trump campaign. We've mentioned Kellyanne Conway's name a few times throughout the program today. And, of course, she is the campaign manager for the Trump campaign. She continues to be out there. She continues to be delusional. Although she's not delusional. She knows exactly what she's doing. And you've got some audio to share with us. So, again, you can spin the Kellyanne wheel and take them in whatever order you'd like.
Yeah, let's. This is with. This one happens to be, I think, with Brianna Keilar on CNN. So let's play that, because this is classic. And then the other Kellyanne I really want to get to, because what she says in that is absolutely phenomenal. So here's the first clip.
What do you make of this? What do you make of this picture that's been painted here by the former Miss Arizona Tasha Dixon and by Donald Trump himself?
I can't comment on what she's saying because I'm not her and I wasn't in the pageant or any other pageant.
Okay, but your candidate is talking about how he did what she described.
Brianna, I heard you. Okay. Well, no, he didn't say what she described was pretty graphic and detailed. So let's not conflate the two. I heard what she said and I heard what he said. And the fact is that all you want to do, it seems, is talk about something he said 10, 15 years ago. And yet we never, ever want to talk, particularly CNN, where we've offered up these women to you. We never want to talk to the women who were shamed and blamed by Hillary Clinton because they had sexual contact with her husband. Some consensual, long-time affairs, of course, including in the White House, and then others victims of predatory conduct. That somehow is not relevant. But Donald Trump on Howard Stern's show is relevant. And you want me to believe that a critical mass
We've covered it, Kellyanne. We've covered it on. I mean, I disagree with you.
Not really.
It's a fact. We have covered it on.
Pitch here.
Well, Donald Trump is running for president, and we have certainly looked at your allegations and we have fact-checked them. We have fact-checked that. If you go on CNN.com, we've gone painstakingly through the very claims you're talking about, and we found that they were exaggerated. So I want to talk to you about your candidate.
I'm sorry, what was exaggerated? What is exaggerated?
No, I'm talking to you about this.
I'm sorry, what is exaggerated?
So as he is...
Oh, you don't want to talk about it. That's my point. What was exaggerated? Juanita Broderick's rape claim is exaggerated? What is exaggerated? Paula Jones getting $850,000 in a sexual harassment settlement is exaggerated?
I'm asking you about your candidate.
I know.
So when he describes this, that he does this, and it really hews to what Miss Arizona is saying. I mean, is it appropriate for him to talk about this, to kind of going into the pageant and women are in various states of undress? Is that appropriate?
Brianna, Are we going to also talk about, again, when somebody's first lady and treating people this way, or First Lady of Arkansas? I mean, I know that you're proving my point to me about what CNN wants to cover and what it does not want to cover.
We've covered it, Kellyanne.
No,
but I'm hoping that you can shed some light.
Something was exaggerated.
I'm hoping that you can shed some light on the thinking of a person that you spend a lot of time with, and there's not many people who can do that. So I want to get your perspective on this and whether this is appropriate.
And maybe you want to ask me who it is I see day by day. This intelligent, clever, gracious gentleman, frankly, whose family's making a huge sacrifice to run for president. Nobody wants to talk about that. You want me to comment on something he said to Howard Stern in 15 seconds 10 years ago, and that somehow I'm an expert on it.
Now,
she's just delusional, man.
Well, but the thing is when you watch her, right, and the camera's on her, when Brianna is saying stuff and asking her questions, and she looks trapped, Tony. I mean, she looks like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? I mean,
I don't buy that for. I'm sorry, dude.
Really?
I love you, but I don't buy that for a second. She's got her zingers ready. Blamed and shamed, conflated, debased. I've seen her enough to know that she is in her freaking glory.
You think so, huh?
Absolutely.
I don't know. She looks very uncomfortable.
I don't agree.
All right, well, let's listen to another little shorty of her, shall we?
Please.
He's talking about going around the democratic process. I mean, talking about jailing your political opponent is something that
No, he's not. He's talking about the result. No, he's not. You're taking it literally, and you're just stuck on this one thing when, again, I know I'm on CNN often. I love CNN. I'm just completely mystified. Why? And it's your show. You can talk about what you want, but Americans want to talk about other things. Look at your own polling.
In a court of law, the end result is not determined before a trial. So if you're talking about investigating
I said that publicly.
I'm talking about what your candidate is saying, which is more important than what you were saying about this. He is saying she has to go to jail. He's not talking about she has to stand and be judged. He's saying she has to go to jail.
And, in other words, what are you saying? You're saying that he had to stop and say, and here's how you get to jail. Here's the process. That's completely ridiculous.
Well, it shouldn't be. I mean, he's talking about a predetermined end result here.
No, he's talking about what a lot of Americans want to know, why the heck this woman wasn't punished at all, and why news outlets like this one think that's okay.
No, that's not what he was saying.
Well, but what you get, too, is stop listening to what he's saying. That's what she's asking us to do. Stop listening to the words that are coming out of his mouth, and you should just, you keep quoting him, and I don't like that. You keep playing what he said, and I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't want you.
This has been going on. It's been going on for months. Listen, let's wrap up this Friday show with little Jake Tapper, since you and I have become quite fond of him. And he's the one that spearheaded a real cable journalism to some degree, in air quotes perhaps, but he's the one that started the whole, you know what, I've had enough, I'm going to go after the truth movement. So I think it's only appropriate that we give him our final salute for the week.
Here we go. Jake Tapper with what's her name? Kayleigh McEnany?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and she of course is a Trump whatever. Here it is.
In our political panel, Kayleigh, let me start with you. Today, Mr. Trump said his accusers, these four women who have come forward and given these accounts, he called them, quote, horrible, horrible liars. Do you believe these accusers who have come forward accusing Mr. Trump of sexual assault?
Well, look, I'll start by saying every person who accuses sexual assault should be heard, and likewise, every person accused of sexual assault should be heard. These are allegations. I can only imagine if I'm Donald Trump and I didn't do these things and I was accused of doing these things and it's been portrayed all day as if he did do these things, you'd be eminently frustrated. And for him to call out and call them lies, I think is the right thing to do. Certainly, if they are not true, that is the right thing to do. There are a lot of reasons, the facts that lead us to question these accusations. Why weren't police reports filed by any of these accusers? Why is this coming out in October, weeks before the election? It's all kind of questionable. And why did the same authors who put forward this story at the New York Times also put forward a story in May where their main source came out and recanted the story and said this is absolutely false? I was taken out of context by the New York Times. So I have to question the source, and I also have to question the facts around it. And I do believe Donald Trump that he did none of these things.
Well, Kayleigh, I have to say, because we had a conversation on Sunday during the debate after Mr. Trump brought out these three women who have accused Bill Clinton, two of them of sexual assault, one of them of rape, and you didn't go into detail questioning their accounts. One of them signed an affidavit saying that there had not been any non-consensual sex and then recanted it. You didn't have an issue with that inconsistency. Many of them had waited years and years and years before coming forward, sure. Didn't report the incident, the alleged incidents to police. You didn't have an incident with that. I guess my question is, why do you have a different standard for Mr. Trump's accusers than you do for Mr. Clinton's accusers?
I certainly don't, because these women, they did wait to come out with their stories. Many victims of sexual assault do wait. That's understandable, and there's a lot of psychological reasons behind that. These women, though, they didn't take their stories and splash them all over the New York Times right before an election. These women took their accusations, at least two of them did, to a court of law, to a lawyer, to an attorney, as they should have done. And my problem has never been, and I've said this on the airwaves many times, has never been with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's not running in this race. My accusations have been towards Hillary Clinton and the way she treated these women. And she was confronted with these allegations on a debate stage, and she didn't deny them. So we have one candidate in the race who's fully denied the accusations leveled at him, and we have another one who hasn't. So I'm not here to litigate Bill Clinton's sexual past or really Donald Trump's, and I think it's sad for the voters that this is the kind of dialogue we're having right now.
Okay. Just for the record, of course, sexual assault is not sex.
Well, first of all, just because somebody doesn't deny something doesn't make it true, number one. The other thing here is this allegation, and that's all it is, that Hillary Clinton abused these women, verbally beat the living tar out of them, whatever, has never been proven. Associated Press, facts check.
That sounds good.
Well, it may sound good, but it's a lie. All right, here's what's going to happen. The weekend will be full of spin. Will Rudy Giuliani be the only one out there for the Trump campaign? Where will Kellyanne Conway show up? What revelations might come through on this Friday? In the political world, Friday is what's called garbage day. And what that means is after 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, the government ends up dumping a bunch of stories that will get picked up, but nobody will read because the least read or reported or watched news of the week is on Saturday. That's just a fact. I think Donald Trump has cured that problem. And so we'll see what happens this weekend. See, one more time, if people want more information and want to make a donation to TNZ Talk, how would they do that?
Well, Tony Tripiano, they can go to tnztalk.com. And, of course, click on support and support the show. $5, $10, $25,000, as Tony likes to say.
2,500.
2,500. 2,500 gets you a lot. Other things get you TNZ Talk podcast mug, T-shirt, hoodie, a bag to put all that stuff in. So tnztalk.com. Click on support. Really like the price of a couple of cups of coffee a month, whatever. I do want to thank the people who are supporting us. right now. We've almost gotten to the point where we can afford the monthly fee for hosting this podcast.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for another great week. Z, thank you as well. We'll be back on Monday, God willing. In the meantime, good luck surviving the weekend, folks. For Richard Zombeck, I am Tony Trupiano, and as always, we ask that you be well.
Oh yeah, can you feel it? Just over the credits, just riffing now. Words and chords. Not the poetry and the real thing, but not bad for an ad-lib. Not good, but... And it's not long enough, so just do a little bit more. And that's nearly done. That's the final credit there. That's the end.